kind of shoot it. I really didn't have much to say publicly anymore when I was out and about talking about the whole debacle with the Trump administration. It's been a while since I've done a live video, so I figured I'd just get on here and just shoot the shit a little bit. Kind of having trouble sleeping. Um, I have an idea of where we're headed. Um, I don't know if many of my viewers or um, my immediate family or friends necessarily think that uh, everything's going to go the same way I do. But I know that most of you who are on my page think like me. Um, and so I think that you're aware of the potential dangers of the Biden Harris administration. So for me, I just kind of want to lay a few things out there and kind of get it on, you know, notice, let it be known that this is what I feel and this is what I want to say, and kind of just reflect a little bit publicly. So I know it looks like I'm looking at the TV. It's because I can see comments there. I don't have it hooked to my computer yet, and my son broke my tripod for my computer, so or for my camera, so I don't have anything to post up high. But what I wanted to let everybody know was that I think that we are headed in a direction that is as far left as you could possibly go on the sphere of political ideology. I know we're on a round circle, so you've got the alt right, in which they call it, we call the alt left, like Trump calls it. But what I see is potential dangerous situation is going to be Antifa being activated in all the local cities. Uh, you can tell by the way that they're responding to the Capitol uh, insurrection, they call it, where these patriots, I think, thought they were storming a building to kind of prove a point or um, protest, right? They saw Black Lives Matters do it. They saw the resist movement do it. They saw different groups going to the Capitol over the last 3 years, 4 years, protesting Donald Trump. And when they went and did it, they were labeled terrorists by everybody in their own group. I mean, I'm seeing Republicans like Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, the Rhino. You're pretty much seeing anybody who's on the right or conservative, so-called Republican, throwing people under the rug, throwing people under their vehicles, um, leaving people out to dry. And my biggest problem with that is when I listen to the rhetoric that was being used by the president and these different senators and congressmen and women, they were telling people to stand up and protest, speak their mind, and go out publicly and express themselves. And when I heard Donald Trump giving his speech at uh, I guess you call it the mall in the Capitol, he told people that he was going to march down there with it. And when you think about the way things transpired, it was almost like there was a rush for people to get down there because they felt like they were going to be with Donald Trump. But that's not what happened. It's really unfortunate because you see reports of people saying that it was Antifa led or whatever. For me, it seemed like there were a lot of different personalities that were just there, like Baked Alaska, for example. You see that it was reported that he live streamed for 20 minutes inside the Capitol. And they're probably going to end up arresting these people. We have a fellow brother, Nick Oakes, who seems to have been labeled as an insurrectionist because he's a Proud Boy. He ran for Congress. He worked for Fox News. He's a good dude, and It's just funny to me that Black Lives Matters and Antifa and the Resist and the women's movement, the Me Too, all the footage that I've seen of these people inside the buildings, inside the offices, protesting during Kavanaugh, the Blasey Ford speeches. For me, it's just incredible to see the hypocrisy in the treatment of patriots, how they are labeled domestic terrorists for going in and maybe knocking some papers down. Um, it's just, for me, hard to fathom that we've come this far. The media has this much influence, Facebook, Twitter. I mean, there is so much that's been going on in the last few days that it's just, excuse me, I'm tired, but I'm not tired. I really can't sleep. But there's been so much that's been going on. It's almost hard to take it in. Okay. So they're implementing things, they're deleting people off of Facebook, they're suspending Parler, they're threatening entire social media accounts, Gab. I mean, when I saw that Parler today was being told that they were going to be removed if they didn't moderate people, and you're seeing places like D Live throwing people off, Twitch has been throwing people off. As soon as Donald Trump lost this January 6th electoral certification thing, you saw full-blown censorship. And what's scary is the media is not even talking about it because they knew that they wanted Donald Trump off a long time ago, but it was much easier to silence his base while he was going along and just talking and talking and talking. He was being shadow banned. So his message was not being delivered in the amount of numbers it should have been. I mean, he had 75 million followers, and they just limited who would see his tweets for a really long time. And then as they found out who his supporters were and how many followers they had, they slowly banned all individuals that had a large following or were influential. And as the years went by, more and more of his base disappeared. And you never really got to see any of the people that helped get Donald Trump elected again this time. I mean, there was no social media influence. We had no access to Facebook, no access to Instagram, no access to Twitter, Snapchat, Twitch, all of these social media platforms. Google made sure to limit everybody on the right and their ability. I mean, Facebook and Twitter alone control billions and billions of people's voices. And the fact that they limited Donald Trump and congressional people and senators, it's just shocking to me. I mean, and Lindsey Graham, what a piece of shit traitor. I honestly never really thought that Lindsey Graham was much of a patriot or really a man of his word, anything other than he's a politician. He says what he needs to say to get elected and not to continue his crony relationships with his deep-pocketed funders. I mean, for Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell to have won their elections with astounding numbers like they did with the funding that they had, it's shocking to me that Donald Trump wasn't able to pull this off. And I know that for the longest time, these two have been there working with the deep state. And the left and the right kind of blur the lines at this point. They kind of just present what they need to so they can keep the problems going, so that they can always have something to govern, right? If there was no problems in our country, you wouldn't really have a need for the government. So what they've done is they've continuously made it so we have all kinds of issues in our country. The economy is complete shit. I mean, Donald Trump was running on, oh, the economy is the best it's ever been. Blacks and Mexicans have the lowest unemployment rate ever. Women have the lowest unemployment rate ever. But when it comes down to it, here we are in 2021. People are, what, 10 months into a lockdown, 9 months into a lockdown. Many people have been forced to stay at home for this entire time, using up all of their savings, probably dipping into their retirement, dipping into their 401ks, dipping into things that they never thought, selling their houses, not paying their mortgage. All these different things are playing out right now. And Donald Trump came out and disavowed the actions of the people who stormed the Capitol. I mean, just look at the way that everybody in the media is responding. I mean, Coca-Cola and Chevron and, Wikipedia and Petco and shit like are coming out and saying things like, we disavow the actions of the Capitol. And they've started sedition websites where they're straight up talking about sedition. I mean, if you look at what the charges are for sedition, that's public hangings, firing squad, execution via gas chamber. I mean, they are proposing some seriously scary things. I mean, I went to Washington, D.C. last month, and it was like nothing I had ever seen in America, with the amount of control that the police had, with the curfew implementations, the mask mandates. The hotels were all boarded up. I mean, they're really expecting some serious riots to be coming. And I think when you see Joe Biden come into office, they are going to stymie everybody's ability to organize, because they know we all ran the parlor. They all knew we ran the Telegram. And what you're going to see is they're going to slowly pick off each and every social media account that they can. And within time, we're going to have nowhere to go. And that kind of leads me to where we were with the title of this video, which is where are we headed the next few days and weeks and months with the Biden administration. I personally don't think Joe Biden is going to last very long. I think Joe Biden is here simply to usher in the changing of the guard, right? So he can leave office and pretend like he's not a bigot. He can pretend like he's not a racist. He can pretend like he wasn't a white supremacist supporter. And he leaves office, say, after a year. He hasn't done anything except for some executive orders. And then he'll just cash out, right? And then he can leave it to Kamala Harris, who will be the vice president that takes over. I don't necessarily know how it works with the vice president taking over with their years. I think that they're still allowed to run 2 times themselves. So there's a potential that Kamala Harris takes over as president, runs for president again, ends up being president for, say, 8 to 12 years with, I don't know, say like Michelle Obama or a Gavin Newsom type, some creep like maybe a Pete Buttigieg, you know, because you have to think these ultra progressives are going to continue to go further and further and further. And so what they're going to do is they're going to destroy small business and tell these business owners demand universal basic income, right? And then they will start having a little bit more control over you. And that's where you're going to see the real conservatives versus the patriots, right? Or the patriots and conservatives versus the like conservatives, the people that don't necessarily have the balls to stand up for themselves when they're alone or when they're faced with decisions that might be hard, right? Prime example, I have a lot of friends that are nurses, and I keep telling them, listen, there's going to be a time where they tell you you're going to have to vaccinate yourself if you want to go to work. You work in a public sector. They act like the whole vaccination thing is voluntary right now. Well, what about last year when they told you that the mask mandate was voluntary? It started off voluntary. Do your part. Do your part. Be kind. Wear a mask. Well, you can't go anywhere without a mask. And then how many of you out there have had no opportunity to go into anywhere in your city because you're told if you do, you're going to get in trouble? Those of you in the UK, those of you in Australia, Germany, they will arrest you in the streets. It's only a matter of time before that comes to America. Joe Biden is the same thing as Boris Johnson or any of these other terrible people, these terrible leaders, and he will implement laws that are violating you in a way you've never experienced before. They will completely stomp on the Constitution and your Bill of Rights. I feel like they will do anything that makes them feel like they have power over you, but they still can use this COVID garbage as a way to bring it in. So they have a lot of people convinced that if you wear the mask, you're not going to die. If you get the vaccine, you're not going to die. But now you're hearing reports of even with the vaccine, you're still not going to get to go out anymore. Okay. If you have the mask on and the vaccine, you still don't get to go out to movies. You still don't get to go out to restaurants. So that's where you're going to have to start to find this social credit score. I think it's going to be implemented. Personally, I feel like it plays into a role where they'll just start scheduling people based on their social credit score on the hours they can go outside. So at first it'll be like, oh yeah, you're not allowed to go shopping, without your vaccine or your, mask or your COVID pass or whatever it is that you're going to need to go out. And all these major corporations are going to play into the social credit thing, right? So it's not necessarily something that's going to have like dire results with a number right away, but it will, in a matter of time, have a reflect in your everyday life like a credit score does when you can't buy things, but it's going to be for everything. So when people think about their inability to get big loans or get a credit card with a large amount on it, this is like small potatoes to what's coming. You have no idea. With this credit score thing, they're going to keep you from getting into stores to buy food. So they will have the ability to have AI, right? Because we all know AI is going to be used for everything. And they have facial recognition. You've got cell phones, and you have to have a COVID pass. So if you go around with your cell phone, you have to have your app, which will have your updated COVID test. And they'll probably make the doors like automated, like they are already. And you go in, and the door will either open or close. And you're going to see a lot more of the idea like Amazon has, which is when you go into the store. You got to think, dude, Amazon is way ahead of the curve. So the way the stores in Amazon are set up, these cashless, touchless stores, you go in with your cell phone. It's already hooked up to your bank account. You go in, you grab whatever item you want off the shelf, and you walk out. It just charges it to your phone because it knows that you're the owner of that phone. You've got all this stuff connected to your phone, so they know it's you. So stealing's going to be a thing of the past, right? Because you're going to have all these different cameras looking at you. You're going to have all these different securities that no one ever thought of because you have to think reimagining the police, right? The BLM and the Antifa types don't want police responding to crimes they don't feel are necessarily violent per se. So if you go in and steal something that you didn't pay for, they will just follow you back to your house with the camera and they will give you a ticket or they'll respond later, right? Like in the UK or in Britain or whatever, they follow the video and go back to your house and they charge you later down the road. They find you. They don't even necessarily respond unless it's like a rape or a murder. And in other countries, you're seeing that they're telling you now, like in Germany, don't even bother fighting back if you're raped. Just let them rape you. And then when you're done being raped, go call 911 and let them know. And then they'll review the tapes. I mean, could you imagine that? That they don't even want men or women to be able to defend themselves when they're being raped. They say to just deal with it because they have the cameras that will record these people because they're afraid that someone who's raping you might be murdered by the police. I mean, I don't get it personally how there's so many people out there that are so compassionate towards the perpetrator. I mean, if somebody goes out of their way to rape another human being and the people around are concerned that the police officer responding to the rape call might end up shooting the person who is the perpetrator because of their skin color or whatever it is. They always put this BLM spin. But you've got to remember now, we've got Kamala Harris as VP, and you've got Joe Biden, who is pretty much sucking the teeth of the leftist progressives. I mean, he's kind of riding the fine line, but it's really going to see. It's going to determine what the left does because he says, "Oh, screw the progressives. I'm not listening to them." Well, when Antifa starts to burn cities down, I think Joe Biden might capitulate a little bit more, and that's my true worry, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to keep putting all these cameras out. They're going to have all the 5G, which can surveil everything, because a lot of people think 5G is just telecommunication. It's surveillance too. It's military grade. It does have the ability to send out different wavelengths, which they've shown that have different things. Hey, buy some chickens and learn to garden. You should might really fan. I got chickens, Davey. That's actually true. I got chickens already. I got some custom eggs. Sharon Cree, how you been? What's going on, Jeff? I miss you guys. I hope to see you guys around. I kind of been just low key chilling. I went out downtown, but like I was saying, so you're going to see social credit score implemented, which will then eventually lead to people being forced to get these vaccines. Because if you want to go eat your food, you're going to have the ability to get into the store, right? And unless you're growing things, like you say, but even then, check it out. How are you going to, per se, pay for your bill for water or pay your mortgage or pay whatever bill it is if they've gone completely digital on money? So the biggest thing, like everyone's jumping on the Bitcoin, investing all this money in Bitcoin. Well, what do you think is going to happen when, say, your credit score gets so low they freeze your bank account and your bank account's frozen and now you can't get into Safeway because you went into Safeway too many times without a mask on? I mean, it's going to probably get to the point where they don't even care if you come in with no mask on because they'll hit a little button and it'll report it to the police department or whoever that you're a repeat violator because they don't want to have confrontation. Okay, there's too many people like me who go everywhere with no mask on. So what they have to do is they have to starve you out. They have to financially burden you. They have to make it an inconvenience for you to the point where you completely give in. And so what my biggest concern is that there's not going to be enough people that stand up soon enough, and they'll continue to pick us off piece by piece, small group by small group, to the point where it's kind of like that old saying, I sat back, they came for the Irish, they came for the Germans, they came for the British, and then they came for me, and there was no one there to help. Well, that's kind of the situation that we're in right now, right? Alex Jones and Laura Loomer and all these right wing, um, I guess you could say, provocateurs online. I mean, I don't necessarily say that I agree with everything that they say. Yeah, Davey, it was. I saw that. I saw 23%, but it might be now 30%. But yeah, I saw 23% of all money in circulation today, like as of like me and you today, 1/5 of that was printed this year. And I mean, almost $1 in $4 was printed this year. And so when you think about where we're headed economically, you've got to understand supply and demand, the curve, it goes like this. And when things get, it's going to just collapse and you're not going to have an economy. And you're going to be seeing people needing food given to them because they have no ability to pay their bills. They have no ability to buy food. They have no ability to get to work anymore. Because, there's a huge percentage of people that don't have the skill set to get jobs in the new world to be considered an essential worker, right? So you really do need to be either a medical worker to stay working, and there's going to be a lot of people that aren't needed anymore in the grocery world because AI and the robots and stuff can easily get groceries. I mean, how hard do you think it'll be for these billion-dollar industries to do just like they do at Amazon, but on like a smaller scale, right? So say, let's just be real. You walk up to a store, or you just order from home because they lock you down with this COVID bullshit. You can't go nowhere, and you're forced to order everything. And they got these little robots that'll pick all your groceries, put it into a cart, and bring it out to you, and it's already connected, right? You're not going to even need these workers anymore. You're not going to need truck drivers anymore. You're not going to need train drivers anymore. You're not going to need agricultural workers because all these people are not going to need to pick fruit because we have robots to do this stuff. All these Uber drivers and taxi cab drivers are not going to have a job because of the automatic driving vehicles. There is so much that is coming to this country that they don't even know or even are aware of. And it's scary to me that people think that it's going to just be okay one day, like we're suddenly going to go back to normal. You will never go back to a time where it's less than it is now. I mean, in my opinion, my personal opinion, I do not feel like we will ever go back to a time before the way we are right now. It is, Sharon. You're 100% right. The first ones to sell out are going to be the ones yelling the loudest about not selling out to their brother handouts. And that's kind of why I've been trying to tell so many people that they need to start a business. They need to stop paying their federal income tax. They need to stop paying these taxes because, for me, if you know that the government is simply using your money to pay the ridiculous amount of interest for the money they're borrowing this year, every year, it's a cat chasing tail type game or a dog chasing his tail. We will never, ever, ever be able to catch up with the way the system has been designed by these crazy bankers. And it's kind of why I'm really excited to see where we can go from here, because I've been over the whole Donald Trump thing now for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I love Donald Trump and what he's done for our country, but I also feel like he's completely failed me as an American patriot, as a free speech advocate, as a Second Amendment lover. I mean, with these red flag gun laws that have been implemented and brought on and been allowed to continue, with the way that they have censored people with our freedom of speech, our religious expression. I mean, liquor stores are open right now, but we can't go to church. You know, Davey, I see a lot of people jumping on this Q stuff. And for me personally, I think it's a way to keep you distracted, to keep you like on a pacifier and not paying attention to the fact that they are generally stealing our country from us right now and ushering in communism and these Q people, which, I mean, I've been reading this stuff for a long time, but I never was able to really get into it. These Q people for the longest time keep saying, "What is, just follow the plan, follow the plan." JFK Jr.'s back, blah blah blah. And I'm seeing this shit right now about, Donald Trump needed to let Mike Pence sign over the papers so that that he could say that the foreign country stole the election. Now we're really going to have. I mean, there's got to be a point where people realize that we have lost. Donald Trump has no support, that the swamp is so deep that there's really nothing he was able to do. He was not able to accomplish anything when he had the Senate and the Congress. Um, so no, I'm not sure if that video was a deep fake or not personally, because I have seen all of the technology and the things that they're capable of. I wouldn't be surprised if any of the shit that we're seeing today is real. And that's what they want you to think. They want you to be worried about it being a deep fake video or this and that. I think Donald Trump is a 1980s liberal who is the president of the United States, and we have gone so far left that when you have Donald Trump presented to you as a Republican, we jumped on it. And that is something that should be scary to you. We conservatives have capitulated. I'm not a conservative, but conservatives and boomers, I am a constitutionalist, an originalist. I believe the Constitution is great. It doesn't apply to any race of people. I think that is if you're white, black, Asian, Mexican, gay, transgender, whatever, as long as you follow the Constitution and don't use some bullshit victim mentality, everything would be okay. But with the way things have gone right now, um, I think that we need to just completely start over. Isn't it Q claiming that this concession video is a deep fake when slowed down and lip movements don't correspond with the words, and the resolution on his face is oddly. Yeah, I know. I mean, baby, I'm not gonna say that um, it's not possible. I mean, I've been saying that there's a lot of stuff that has gone on that is questionable over the past couple of years. But I mean, these Q people like Lynn Wood, right, saying, "Oh, he's Mike Pence is a pedophile and he needs to be hung first and treason and yada yada yada." Well, there hasn't been a single thing that has been noticeable to me that we could identify as something worthy of Q being said to be right, or the people that are following. One thing that I will give credit to Q about is Q woke a lot of people up. Q got a lot of people investigating and digging deep into pedophilia and digging into the conspiracies and looking into crooked politicians and following the money and doing a lot of investigative journalism themselves, which is completely like that's commendable, dude. I give the movement of Q a lot of credit. But I don't believe that Q is one or two or a group of people that you can rely on, because there's too many people that have the ability to go in and write disinformation into something that might be positive. So when you're having to rely on information that's coming from almost uh, like someone like a faith leader or something, you got to have faith in the fact that Q is something that's not been infiltrated by people on the left or the CIA or the FBI or whoever is using their diabolical, um, you know, IAA type shit. I mean, look at Millie Weaver and the stuff that they talk about in their video, the Shadowgate movies that they've made with General or that Officer Fergie, where he's talked about all this stuff going on in Germany and Frankfurt and all this shit. I mean, it's clear as day that we have been having shadow governments run our country for a really long time, and we have no control. And I think what you've seen is the FBI and the CIA and the NSA and the DOJ have more control, more power, more fingers, more connections, more money than we normal people. They have more guns, they have more contractors, they have all sorts of, mercenaries working for them. I mean, how obvious has it been that they've killed off many, many people that have been whistleblowers, whether they're within the medical field, whether they've been like Seth Rich, who's a Democratic DNC whistleblower, Julian Assange. I mean, let's just look at that. The guy is being denied extradition to America. Okay. They're not allowing him to come here because they know that he's going to give Donald Trump information that he needs to prevent Joe Biden from being brought into office. But they don't care, because they know that once Joe Biden gets into office, they're going to pull some bullshit where they'll probably allow the Attorney General of New York to bring prosecutionary things against Donald Trump. They'll bring a warrant out for his arrest. They will try to prosecute his whole entire family. They will, I weirdly enough feel like what they'll do is they'll take control of Trump Towers. They will either fine him until he's broke, or they'll just possess Trump Towers. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when you own something like that, what do when you have crooked politicians? And so, knowing the way that New York works and Mayor de Blasio and Cuomo, I wouldn't be surprised if they allowed BLM or Antifa to take possession of Trump Towers as a form of reparations or something for his racism or his insurrection. I mean, it's just fucking crazy to think about the shit that's been going on. People treading on top of the water of false hope. Take on the water into your lungs and go into the abyss of truth. We've been sold out by the modern day Judas. Wake the fuck up. And see, that's another thing that I've been really black pilled with, and it's very difficult to talk to a lot of Christians about. Like, I'm not a racist. I'm not an anti Semite. I'm not, well, I mean, I guess you can call me an anti Semite. I mean, I don't really have a problem with Jews per se, but I do have a problem with anybody that is a Jew that feels that they are God's chosen people and that they are supreme to we normal people. Like, I don't see any difference between a Jew who's a supremacist or a white person who's a supremacist or a black person who's a supremacist. And that's just me, dude. Like, I don't really give a shit what people think anymore. This is 2021, and I'm over being censored, and that's another reason why I'm doing this video, because you know what, it needs to be established of where I stand and how I feel about things. And I'm no longer going to allow for, magatards or Q-tards or fucking cuck-servatives to restrict me on my speech and how I'm supposed to feel about political ideologies and different things that I have my own personal opinions on. And that's the more that I delve into the Jews and, like you said, the Judas of the group, the more that I've realized our government is run by a bunch of Zionist type people. And I don't necessarily agree with Zionism. Okay. And I think that Zionism runs right along with the lines of some form of racial supremacy. And just because the rest of the world has decided to get behind one group of people and determine that they are the people, okay? So because they wrote their book 2,000 years before Hitler makes them less racist? I don't think so. I listen to the Talmud and the Torah, and I listen to Mein Kampf, and they sound very similar to me. And it bothers me that when you go to state.gov or the DOJ and you look up the definition of an anti Semite, and the definition of an anti Semite is anybody who compares the Jews to Nazis, or who says the way that the Jews are treating the Palestinians is anti Semitic, or saying the Jews don't have a right to Israel is anti Semitic. And when you look at the connection between Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Donald Trump, Jared Kushner, Benjamin Netanyahu, all of these people, it really doesn't matter. And that's why I'm over the political left and right game. I'm more like third position. I guess that's where I fell. And I mean, it doesn't really mean anything bad. I guess it just means that I don't necessarily believe that the political structure we have today is really designed for the population we have. I mean, just think about the fact that if we would have used the popular vote back in the 1800s, like the liberals claim, racism would still be rampant and slave owners would be everywhere, right? I mean, if they say that the popular vote was that way, but because we had an electoral college, we had a spread out vote, slavery was allowed to be voted out or whatever, which I don't even think, if you study history, that's how it went down, because slavery was ended via an amendment and civil war, so it was never really handled in an appropriate manner, which is, I think, another design by the man who is running everything that we see. And I think another thing that's been pissing me off about everything is I've grown up thinking America was like this great country. I feel like now that I've experienced the last 4 to 6 years of hardcore politics, and I have a better idea and understanding of where I fall because I've played a role in it, the more I feel like they play against each other to guide us to one place. We're not necessarily doing anything different when it's the right that's got control or the left, because they still pull strings. And I mean, like you said, a bird needs 2 wings to fly. Good night, Jeff. So by that, I meant it did not sit right with me that there was a giant menorah on our White House lawn. Davey, I was in D.C. and I took a picture of that. Okay? I am completely in agreement with you. I didn't see a giant cross. I saw a Christmas tree. A Christmas tree, though, does not represent Christ. It does not represent a religion. It does not represent a sect of religion. And when you saw that, you saw the amount of power that the Jewish religion has. And so that plays into this whole, where will we be going the next few days, weeks, and months, because Benjamin Netanyahu has already asked Joe Biden for control of his Middle Eastern foreign policy. So, I mean, we have Israel's prime minister wanting to control Middle Eastern diplomacy. Now, I don't know why anybody would agree with allowing somebody from another country. That's funny. I love you, Sharon. No, I'm not defending myself about not being a racist. I don't feel I'm a racist. I'm just prejudiced. So there's really a difference. Like, I prejudge people from certain groups based on things that I've had happen to me over time. I don't judge a whole group of people based on certain actions from numbers of people. I mean, I can acknowledge the fact that there are certain races of people, and statistics say one thing about certain groups of people that they don't say about others. But I don't necessarily know if I don't know. It's kind of a hard one. But personally, I have my real problem is this relationship with Israel. That's an issue. I was thinking about, hey Sean, how are you, buddy? I love it, dude. Good to see my boy on. See, I needed to have a late night vent session, and for me, it's not sitting well with me what's going on right now. I personally feel like Donald Trump baited our people to go down like a honeypot to the Capitol, and then when they did, he left them out to dry. I mean, now he's trying to take credit for calling out the National Guard on our people. Yeah, um, Sharon, I'm banned on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm not going to really mess with Parlor. I have a Parlor, and I'm on the Prudent Patriot. I know who you are, Jeff, right side. Of course I do. But Sharon, yeah, I'm not on any of those other social media platforms owned by any of those billionaire conglomerates. I've tried to branch away. I would like to stay on platforms that I can kind of control who gets to see what I'm putting out there. Like I was talking to Sean about trying to get more regularly involved with doing some videos, try to keep it around an hour, hour and a half. This was more like just a late night extemporaneous rant. And that's what I'm saying, Sean. I feel that we've been played by that third group of people that isn't involved in America. And that's kind of why I have the third position. I'm not necessarily, after 4 years, saying that I don't believe that we can save America, but I think that the old way of America is gone. I think that it's been manipulated, it's been destroyed because our forefathers didn't know about the internet. They had no idea what was coming. They couldn't foresee the technology, the advances that were going to be made. And unfortunately, I think something needs to be done to prevent it from being completely destroyed. But I mean, I would like to see us ratify a bunch of the shit that's gone on and eliminate this communist garbage. But I don't know. I think Donald Trump set us up, dude. I think he got a lot of people. See, okay, so social media, Jeff. A lot of people got on Facebook and all these social media things over the last 20 years. And what it did was it made everybody get out there and put their opinions in a public platform to where the government is now able to document everybody. So we all went out and made our profiles. They've got us facially recognized. I mean, look at me. I'm on a live stream, right? So they can do a facial recognition on me. They've got a current picture of me. They have the outline of my house. They know what my shit looks like. So they are okay with you doing the streaming. They'll just shadow ban you. They'll control you. They make you feel like you have an opinion. When in reality, all they've done is they've set up millions and millions of people to expose themselves, show their belief system, be recorded, to have their lives ruined. And then you looked at what happened in DC this weekend. You got like 500,000 people together, maybe 200,000 people together. You're hearing all kinds of different mixed numbers. And you get a few agitators and a few provocateurs that go into the Capitol and didn't damage anything, didn't burn any buildings. I mean, dude, there were so many people in that building. They could have burnt the Capitol to the ground, and there wasn't a single fire lit. No one did any damage that you could see or that's being reported. And you are hearing all these politicians from the left and the right publicly decrying that these are public threats. They're domestic terrorists. They need to be charged with sedition. They need to be put, in jail for 10 years minimum. And you look at what BLM and Antifa have been doing for the last 200 days, and it's shocking to me. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Donald Trump has done nothing for our side, and that's what I'm saying. I'm even recognizing, I'm willing to publicly admit, he ain't done shit for white people. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with it. If you're going to talk about what he's done for blacks, what he's done for Mexicans, what he's done for the Jews, what he's done for all the illegals, what he's done for everybody. I mean, what has he done for the white Christian? What has he done for the white male? What has he done? We have the highest suicide rates. We have the highest suicide rates. That is just shocking to me. Highest unemployment rates. That's bothersome. Okay. That's a giant chunk of your country. That's a giant chunk of your voter bloc. And so, as he pandered to all of these minority groups, the blacks, the Mexicans, the Latinos for Trump, the blacks for Trump, the gays for Trump, the walkaway movement, he gave up on a giant chunk of his voter base. And if you see that he lost 5% of the white male vote, that's why he lost. There are several videos which seem to show Capitol Police opening the barricades. Well, yeah, because they knew that we were going to go in there and we weren't going to damage anything. And they knew that if we went in there, that they could portray it any way they chose. So there was a stand down order given. I mean, if they wanted to stop those people from going into the buildings, they could have very easily have set up their squads of FBI and Capitol State Police in their body armor with their shields like they did when they kept us from getting to the Antifa. And they could have lined up around the Capitol early on in the day and prevented us from doing that. Oh, dude, that's fucking awesome, Sean. That is awesome. I'm jealous, dude. That is awesome. I really feel like Joe Biden is going to accelerate communism like we've never seen before. And I just wish people truly understood how fast it happens. I mean, Hugo Chavez was able to destroy his country very fast, okay? I mean, you look at Venezuela, you look at Brazil, you look at all these places, people are eating out of garbage cans, okay? And you just look at all of the places like in LA with Skid Row, it doesn't take much, okay? You start getting diseases and you start getting homeless occupying areas, protesters blocking city streets, burning down cities. I mean, if you burn down a couple city blocks or a couple miles of neighborhoods, it really starts to affect the morale of the city. It affects the whole entire economy. If I didn't know any better, I'd say the storming of the Capitol looked like a total setup. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Unarmed people. We had armed citizens in Virginia, 20,000 thick, with guns, and there wasn't a single person shot. You think that if we wanted to go in and have an insurrection and not a random, that was a random protest to show those people what we could do. And now they're building a wall and they're going to have the military and Joe Biden for the next. See, this is what people don't understand. They said that Donald Trump wasn't going to leave office. That Donald Trump was going to build a barricade around the White House and never leave. Well, no, what they did was they knew that Joe Biden was going to take office. They started building the fence, knowing that Joe Biden was going to take office. And now that he's in, they're going to build these giant fences so that Joe Biden never leaves office, so that he can then stay in office once he's there because he has the military protecting him. He has these giant walls. And rich Donald Trump moves on with his family and goes wherever he goes, unless they decide to turn on him. Like, I mean, but you're already seeing that they're stopping Donald Trump from being able to sell merchandise online now. So they're stopping him from selling on all sorts of different websites. I mean, they're shutting down domain names, they're shutting down websites, they're going to bankrupt Donald Trump. And this is what I'm saying, guys. If you think that you can run for office and go against what these people want you to say, they will slowly choke you out. Like you said, the grip of the communist boa constrictor. That's the truth. We're going to be slowly choked out, and you're going to see people begging for universal basic income. You are. And I mean, Governor Newsom is already talking about giving out a stimulus check here in California. How is he going to do that? Tell me. He didn't have the money to give checks to people in California when Donald Trump was president and was willing to pay 2/3 of the stimulus check. But suddenly now he has the ability to pay $600 because he didn't want you to have money. Like up for that shot, baby. Yeah, I know, dude. Yeah, it's shocking to me how many of my friends don't think that they're going to be forced to get the shot one way or another. And I said, just think about it. They're going to start taxing magazines. They're going to start taxing ammunition. They're going to start taxing anything that you can think of, lowers on guns. Mike Pence's chief of staff has officially been barred from the White House. What does that matter? I mean, I would only say it would matter if Mike Pence was banned from the White House. I mean, Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi and the cabinet. I mean, as you see people stepping down from the cabinet, I think it becomes even easier for them to go to the 25th Amendment on Donald Trump because there's less people needed to vote him out. So in reality, when Betsy DeVos and Chow or whoever leaves, now you only need Mike Pence and whoever else. So it's concerning. It makes me wonder, the possibility of the 25th Amendment. I know that he can still do executive orders. I know he can still do pardons. I keep hearing all this stuff about a Nixon. Excuse me. Finally starting to yawn. A Nixon law. But I truly think that Donald Trump lost. I think he underestimated the power of social media. I think he underestimated the power of corporate America, the deep state, the swamp, how deep it truly was. And if he would have attacked Twitter and Facebook and Google earlier, I think he might have had a chance. But I think that as far as we're concerned right now, the vaccine is going to be forced on you whether you like it or not, even though there's already a new mutant strain that's coming. You're going to see a 100-day lockdown coming because Mike Pence, Joe Biden has already said 100-day lockdown is what I'm going to bring. Make you wear a mask mandatorily, executive order. So they're denying you your rights. I mean, I went to court yesterday for assault. So I'll end on this. I was assaulted in November after the election, and I had to go to court for assault and battery, right? Because this woman attacked me. The sheriff here in Sacramento tried to make me wear a mask. And I said, listen, dude, you cannot make me wear a mask. It's unconstitutional. And the guy goes, listen, I'm not going to allow you access to the building unless you wear a mask. So I pulled the mask up. And I went in. And right when I walked through the metal detectors, I said, thank you, sir. And I went, beelined it, right? They follow me. I go into the room and I ask for my information. Can I please have my information? Please, please, please. Cop comes in. I need you to leave, sir. Throws me out of the building. They changed the time that I was supposed to be in court. The DA ended up dropping charges against me, which was expected. It was ridiculous. They wouldn't tell me if they dropped charges against the girl, which I assumed that they did. But when I came back, the guy was not going to let me in the building without a mask. So I would have been given a warrant for my arrest for a failure to appear if I refused to wear a mask. So just think about the level of manipulation and power that these people, I mean, this is Sacramento, dude. Sacramento is a pretty conservative city when you think about our sheriff's department. Scott Jones is a staunch conservative. He gives out, CCWs. He doesn't like any of this law stuff that Gavin Newsom and Steinberg have passed. So when you see the sheriff here in Sacramento, I used it, Sean. I gave it to him. He laughed. I handed him that exemption card with my ticket. And he said to me, this is word verbatim, fuck your HIPAA and your ADA card. I was like, really? He goes, yeah. Call a lawyer. And that's how you know that they have it on, that the Constitution means nothing to these people. So you have a mask exemption card, Jeff? Is that what you're saying? Well, I've been on for about an hour now. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I'm exhausted. But in terms of what I thought was coming, a short, run over of what we discussed, I think you're going to see forced vaccinations in the next year, digital currency in the next year. You're going to see a social credit score. Rethinking policing is going to be massive, massive surveillance state with the 5G implemented. And you are going to see a lockdown like you've never experienced. You're going to see universal basic income. You're going to see immigrants coming over our border like you've never seen before. Buy XRP tonight. Buy XRP. What's Bitcoin at now? Is it over 45,000 yet? I should have bought it. I can't believe, if I would have bought Bitcoin when it was just $1,000 a coin, I would have made 45 times my money. Yeah, I mean, I would have had $39,000 right now just from investing. I could have sold and bought XRP or whatever else I want to do. But where can I buy XRP? That's the thing, is my wife won't let me buy it. I mean, can you open up a wallet for me, Sean, and I'll give you $100? I mean, what the fuck, dude? My wife just won't let me do it with a card, dude. She doesn't trust it. Do I have to get my own bank account? Is that what I should do, is go to the bank, open my own bank account with like $150, $200, and then put it in there? Ethereum is $1,300. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I remember when Ethereum was only $160. I was like, should have bought it. Whatever. Well, I will leave this stream digestible in an hour. I appreciate you guys joining me. Sean, if you want to text, shoot me a text or a call. Jeff, you're always welcome to shoot me a call anytime. Those of you that are on here that I don't see who's joined, let's see if it tells me who's on. Tell me who's watching. Let's see. Participants. Oh, it's just me, Sean, and Jeff. Well, that's weird. It says there's 5 people on. Well, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys very much, and you have a wonderful night, and look forward to more streams. I'll try to do more of these more often. All right, you guys have a good night.